Hello everybody and welcome to another Pennington Choices podcast. Today we are talking about all things building safety. My name is Stewart Kerr and I am a principal consultant here today. I am joined by my colleague Neil Richards.
Thanks Stu. Hi everyone, I'm Neil Richards. I'm a senior consultant here at Pennington Choices.
Excellent. So we've had a lot of questions come in around about building safety. So we haven't seen them before, so we're going to dip our hand into this little cup here and we're going to pull out a question and then we're going to answer it for you. Hopefully there'll be something along a theme that you will generally come across in your day-to-day work or something that you are struggling with yourself as well. Hopefully we'll provide some answers for that. So without further ado, Neil, if you'd like to dip your hand first.
I'll take the first dip. So first question then, what is the most satisfying aspect of working with clients in building safety work?
Ooh, I think we can both have a go at this, can't we? So the most satisfying thing I find is when we're talking to them about building safety and all of the aspects of building safety that they need to consider. And when we start getting them into that mindset of, well, yes, you do need to look at this and you do need to have that approach and you do need to document it in a meaningful way that goes into your golden thread and everything. And that will then make your whole safety case and all of your building safety more robust. When you start seeing the light bulb moments coming on for the clients in those respects, that bit really gets me. I really enjoy doing that bit. Yeah, that's the bit for me.
100%. I think the mindset is, we get clients in and sometimes they don't know what to expect with, how big a safety case report can be. For me, I've worked with clients where we've got the end result, we've given them an action plan of things and recommendations that would improve and make their safety case more robust. And I think sometimes we don't get to see the outcome of those actions, but when we do, and the clients have got those actions sorted, it's made their safety case more robust. It's for me, the satisfying moment is seeing that we've made a difference to those clients. So that's the most satisfying thing for me, I think.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Right, let's have a look at the next one. What evidence should be included in a building safety case report to satisfy the Building Safety Regulator? Well, it's a rather expansive question, that, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Because there is no written down document that says this will get you through a building assessment certificate. It's about making sure you can gather all of the evidence to have that robust claim, argument, evidence that you have building safety, your approach is sound, you understand where your gaps are, because that is absolutely key, understanding where your gaps are. So, and you have an action plan on how you're going to close those gaps down. Might mean that those gaps are too big for you to get a building assessment certificate, but at least you understand those and you're able to then take those on and close those gaps down. So there is no silver bullets for these things, is there?
There isn't, no. And it's, a lot of the times clients don't have the right surveys in place as well. And I think, a lot of the recommendations that we give clients are around making sure you've got a robust structural survey, because we know that the BSR are quite strict on making sure that building is robust and it's structurally safe. So having those structural surveys, fire strategies, compartmentation surveys if required, up-to-date fire risk assessments, just making sure that you're getting those surveys in place, and obviously updating your safety case report on an annual basis or whenever there's a change in survey as well to make that report more robust. So, the safety case report is a plethora of things from, surveys to your safety management system, your resident engagement strategy, things like that. So there's a lot to consider, but it's just about keeping it updated.
And I think one of the things to consider as well is ask other organisations who have been successful with their building assessment certificates, well, what did you include? Does that look like what we've included? Is there anything they've included that we haven't potentially? Other organisations, I've found this when working in social housing, are happy to share when asked. They're not necessarily going to give you the information up front, but when asked, people are generally nice and they will share that information. And that will also help in determining what have we got, what haven't we got, what do we need to get, how do we need to get it, is there anything that can be done that way? So next one.
Okay, next question. Why do I need, following on from the last question, why do I need a safety management system for building safety and what should go in it?
Again, rather expansive question, but this one's probably a little bit easier to answer, isn't it? So safety management system should be a document or something you can evidence easily that demonstrates how you approach building safety. You're looking at things such as your governance procedures, your policies and procedures that you have in there, making sure that you've got a golden thread, making sure that you've got things like your mandatory occurrence reporting and so forth. All of those things add up to your safety management system. This is not about the buildings. This is about the organisation. This is about how the organisation looks at what it needs to do, how it's going to comply with those elements, whether it be the Building Safety Act, whether it be, control of asbestos regulations 2012. It's about making sure that the organisation, in terms of its approach to safety, is there, and your safety management system underpins that.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much said it all. This thing, training and competence as well, making sure that people that are in charge of building safety have the correct training and competence to do so. A big thing though with the safety management system that I want to sort of impress on is the change management and the continuous improvement. We're finding that a lot of times change management systems aren't in place, and that's one of the big recommendations that we're making, is to make sure that you know what to do if there's a change in your high-rise building. Is there a process in place also? And just how you're sort of monitoring continuous improvement. Are you doing trend analysis, things like that? So all of those things should be in your safety management system as well.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. Change management is huge, and organisations, I feel, are still struggling with that concept of change management. Some feel it's just about refurbishment works that go on in a building because they're changing something within there, but it's not. It could be anything. It could be how you operate the building, how you manage the building, how you're going to have tenancies in the building. There might be that you don't allow children in, and that might be a change, but what does that effect have on building safety as a whole? It could be that you're going to change how the caretaker rotates on the building. If they're not there every day, how are they going to, say, carry out the weekly fire alarm check if that's one of their duties? So change it's absolutely huge, and it underpins a lot of things, again, that organisations do but don't necessarily recognise.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, let's move on to the next one. We're on a roll.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge we see organisations struggle with when developing a safety case report?
There's a few challenges. I think, like you said earlier, I don't think people and clients realise how much goes into a safety case report. It is a detailed report. Like I said, change management is one of the big things that people tend to not document. I think with residential peeps coming in, that's also another thing that requires a process to it, not just a case of going out there and doing your PCFRAs and your evacuation statements and stuff like that. It's what's behind it as well. And for me, I think resident engagement strategy and the building safety complaint system under the Building Safety Act is a big thing that people haven't quite got the right grasp on at the moment, especially with the complaints procedure. I think people kind of think it's a generic complaints procedure, whereas it's not. You have to have that building safety complaint system individualised as well. And the resident engagement strategy, again, we see a lot of generic resident engagement strategies that cover a multitude of buildings, whereas that resident engagement strategy needs to be building specific. So that's sort of my opinion on that question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned about documentation as well. How many times have we spoken to a client and we said, do you do this? Oh yeah, we do that. How do you evidence it? Can you show me how you evidence it? And like, oh no, we don't document it anywhere. And I'm like, so I'm just, think of me as the regulator, and this is what we always say to clients, isn't it? Always consider this from the point of the regulator when you're writing your safety case reports, because they don't know you, they don't know the building, and they don't know how you're going to operate it. You've got to get that all through to them in a succinct report. So if you're doing something that you can't evidence, how are they able to believe that and say that you do? So the biggest one is structure, isn't it? We often find that there might be a structural survey in place and it's not going to be done for several years. And in between that, how do you manage structure? And they'll say, oh, we'll walk around and we make sure nothing's fallen off the building. Well, yeah, everyone does that. So how you evidence it?
That's it.
And that's the crux, isn't it?
It's the documenting of it. And it's like you said, we asked the question, in the interim of, say, 5-year structural surveys, are you carrying out visual surveys on a monthly basis as part of your building inspection? Are you checking for cracks, spalling of concrete, things like that? Well, yes, but where is it documented? Have you got an audit trail of when the sort of cracking started and things like that? So, documenting everything.
So much that organisations do, which is really good things, because we've not found organisations aren't doing things that they should be doing, but they've got no way of being able to demonstrate that they're doing them, that they can evidence them, that they can show when they were done. That nice piece of evidence that supports the argument, that supports the claim. Brilliant. Go on.
You're trying to nick my...
I was trying to get my hand on that.
Okay, so how do you demonstrate that building safety risks have been reduced so far as reasonably practicable?
Ooh, again, this is, first of all, the first thing that every organisation has to do, identify the risks in the first place, isn't it? Have a really good, robust hazard risk assessment, bow tie risk assessment, whatever works for the organisation that you're in, so that you can identify those risks and work out where does it sit. Is it a high? Is it a low? Is it medium? And then from there, understanding what your priority list is, working out, is there anything that we can do? Because there's some risks in buildings you can never do anything about. They're just going to sit there and you just have to manage them, which is absolutely fine. There's no problem with that. But then you've got other risks that you might think, actually, we need to do something here. The one that I always like to come up with is the vehicle strike one, because something that organisations don't necessarily think about too much. But the prime one was, for me, was we were working with an organisation. I said, have you looked at vehicle strikes? And they said, no, not particularly. And I said, well, you know the bin lorries, they must come up here to the undercross section. What's stopping them from going a little bit too far back and hitting those pillars, which are basically holding up that entire facade? And straight after that, they went, oh yeah, I think we need to put some vehicle strike protection. And they did. The following 2 weeks, they had new bollards in place, so the bin lorries couldn't reverse too much.
Yeah.
So it's making sure you identify those hazards and then working it out from there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, with the hazard risk assessment, obviously we provide that as part of our safety case reports. And it's not just looking at those scenarios, but also when we're looking at the local environment as a whole, is there any new scenarios that we can potentially look at? Because every building is different, and you know, we might spot something that actually we've not picked up before. So that's why that hazard risk assessment or bow tie, however you want to do it, is so important, and having that evidence on your building safety case report as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had that example, didn't we, where we were working with one client and we said, this building next door, and the person on the call said, I didn't even know that building existed because I approached it from a completely different direction. This building had some sort of cladding on it.
Yeah.
It was only about a metre off the client's building. Any fire could have potentially moved across the gap and caused them a problem. So yeah, they needed to identify that as a risk and move forward with it. So yeah.
I think we've noticed one as well previously where we've picked up that there was a flue from a restaurant next door, and you could see the black char that was on the building, and unfortunately no one had picked it up previously. It was lucky that we kind of caught it, really, because you know we then got to ask the questions and dig a little bit deeper as to, have you spoken to this restaurant next door? Do you know that they've got, you know, correct fire risk assessments in place and things like that? So it's not just about your building, but it's about what's around your building and what can potentially affect your building if anything was to.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right. Who is responsible for preparing and maintaining a building safety case report?
Well, it could be anybody really. I mean, if you've got a building safety and compliance team within your organisation, we would normally sort of say that the operational lead, if you're reviewing that report and then get that review assessment signed off by, say, a director or head of service, for instance, but it's getting that second pair of eyes on it. So you can have someone reviewing it and then someone signing it off, but it's normally sort of someone operational that would review that report or update it on a 6-monthly annual basis, or whenever sort of fire risk assessments or change of surveys come in. So yeah, it could be anybody really, as long as they've got the correct sort of competencies to do so, and they're looking at that report from a building safety perspective and not just an exercise to just go through and check if anything's changed. So yeah, I would say sort of competencies are a big
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the responsibility ultimately is with the principal accountable person, which could be the organisation or a named individual, as we know. But for organisations, particularly bigger organisations, there needs to be that strategic decision-making approach. Who is going to be leading on this operationally, like you say, who's going to be developing the safety case report, maintaining it, make sure it's all nice and accurate and up to date, and then who's going to be reviewing it so that they can have that good governance, sense check, make sure it all reads properly, because some buildings still haven't been called up. They're still not going to be called up for years. So some organisations are still in the space where they've not even had that interaction with the Building Safety Regulator. So it's about making sure that there's a structure in place, it's working effectively, that the right strategic choices have been made for the people that are doing it, and like you said, competency.
Yeah.
You know, and competency, as we know, comes in a multitude of different things. It doesn't necessarily all about qualifications, although obviously we know about the CIOB level 6 is generally the one for building safety, but we're also talking about things such as experience, you know, knowledge, understanding. That counts for a lot more as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Next question. How is the regulator doing now it's moved out of the HSE?
I think it's definitely getting better. It's had a lot of teething problems, and I do have some sympathy for them, like I've mentioned before, because they are a brand new regulator. This is a brand new area. They don't know what they were expecting to see. I think a lot of it caught them off guard.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of issues, not just around building safety cases, but obviously for the Gateway 2 applications and things like that. That was incredibly slow. And also very inconsistent as well. And the one thing that I think we've been able to say about the regulator was that they were consistently inconsistent. And there's still an element of that whilst they are still feeling their way through. So how are they doing? They are definitely getting better at what they're doing. They've got more resource in there now, which is really good to see. There is a higher pass rate now as organisations are starting to understand better what the regulator is looking to see when they have applications. But I still feel that there is some way to go still. Yeah. I think the regulator can do a lot more for itself if it was able to give out some of that information and guidance that so many organisations are falling over on, and they're not understanding why are we falling over at this point, rather than just getting that request for further information that just has a line which doesn't really explain what the failure is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think since they've become a sort of standalone body in January, you know, they've put into place improvement plans and things like that. So they've already identified where they can improve and do better as a regulator. So I've not heard anything negative since they've been a standalone body. I think everything's on the sort of upward trajectory. So yeah, I think that they're better now that they're standalone rather than as part of the sort of HSE.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, should we do the last question then? Let's do the last one.
Make it a good one.
Make it a good one. How often should a building safety case report be reviewed and updated?
A nice easy one to finish then. So we would recommend that it's done on an annual basis, just because you're getting that annual fire risk assessment done on the building. You can update as well as sort of hazard risk assessments as well at the same time. However, depending on where your safety case report is, if you've got obviously recommendations, action plans, things to do, I would recommend they're getting sort of updated and looked at and reviewed a bit more regularly. So maybe 6 months, just to sort of see if any changes have come in that you need to update that report on. But normally it's sort of an annual recommendation. But as I said, depending on where your report is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you say, if you've got a lot of if you've just done your safety case report and you've got a lot of things to do, you're going to want to do that a short period of time, because there's potentially going to be quite a few different things that are going to be completed. You want to get them updated, you want to show that you've completed them and so forth. But when you get your safety case into that really good space where everything is sort of ticking along, everything's running, there's not many changes, your action plan is pretty much null, then an annual basis at the max. Yeah. Because so much does change. You know, we see regulations falling in, like the RPEAPS regulations that have come in on the 6th of April this year. There might be other things that are coming in which impact Not necessarily they are there as building safety, but look at Awaab's Law Phase 2. Things like that could be there developing, and they need to be put into the safety case to demonstrate how it's not just about fire and structure necessarily, but there's other things that you're doing to support it, because damp and mould particularly, that could get into the structure, could require other mitigations to come into play, and that might require a change within the safety case report as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, anywhere where there's any change, anywhere where you have a big action plan, have a reduced timetable probably for reviews and updates, and then in a good place, no more than a year would suggest.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Okay, right. Thank you very much for listening to us today. If you would like to find out any more of our podcasts and any more of our discussions, please go to LinkedIn, YouTube, and also Spotify, where you'll find them. Please do like and subscribe. And hope to see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you would like to speak to one of our in-house experts, please get in touch either via our website or across our social media pages. Pennington Choices, providing property surveying, consultancy and project management services to organisations nationwide. Our expertise, your solution.